All right, welcome to another episode of SD's podcast where Dom and Connor talk about stuff featuring Josh Dion today.
How you doing?
So in a previous podcast, we talked about mental health, and today we wanted to kind of share a little bit of what we use in a lot of ways to help with ours personally, but also anyone else who might be interested in it as well, and that is music. So from what you just heard, Josh has been playing guitar and he's a vocalist for quite some time. I myself play guitar and Dom is a drummer. So between the three of us, we decided to have a little bit of a jam, and we have another one coming for you at the end of the podcast, so stick around for that. Other than that, we're going to talk about a little bit of Josh's business. He is actually a guitar luthier and designer. We're going to talk about our experiences in music and gym music, and usually what you're hearing while you're at the gym, whether it's in your headphones or through the gym's loudspeaker itself. And then again, stick around for the performance at the end.
Yeah, so pretty much in regards for the types of music that you're going to be kind of exposed to, your music's just going to alter your mood based off of the melody, how it makes you feel, how it sounds. There's going to be a lot of different things that music can do to not only so much influence your mood, but for me personally, when I train, a lot of times my music is going to depict as to the intensity of my training. If I'm listening to something that puts me into like a more alert state, something that may be a little bit faster in tempo, chances are that I'm probably going to be doing something a little bit more intensive in terms of my training. If I'm listening to music that's a little bit more mellowed out and kind of laid back and relaxed, I might be doing something a little bit more on the lenient side, like cardio or something like that. So it really is going to change how you approach your training. And again, whether it's music that they're playing at the gym or music that you listen to personally, it's definitely going to have some sort of an impact, whether you believe it or not, on your overall performance to how you come up to the plate to train.
Unless you're a strange person who just likes to work out in total silence.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to get into right here is with Josh. Josh, can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Sure. So the company that I and my partner Greg, actually a long time, Greg has been doing this by himself and recently brought me on, and we've been doing a lot of work together. And I've been, pushing the marketing aspect and Facebook, Instagram, YouTube videos. I've done a lot, and he seems to be on board with it, so I'm really happy about that. The company's called Siren Acoustic Guitars, and what we do is try to build the best possible acoustic instrument for you, mainly guitars. Greg also builds mandolins, but that is not my area of expertise. Greg has been building acoustic guitars for over 30 years. I myself have been doing it for almost 2 years now, and honestly, it's all I want to do with my time.
That's awesome. And we know you have a piece with you today that you hand built. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this was the first acoustic guitar that I ever built. And when I came back from my most recent deployment, I reconnected with my fourth grade art teacher, who had been building guitars for about 30 years, that being Greg. And this is the first one that we built together. There's another one, there's a sister to this. This is the prototype of our Grand Auditorium, based off of Taylor's Grand Auditorium. It was one of my favorite guitars that I had, and it was the inspiration for this one. I couldn't exactly afford a high-end instrument. I couldn't go out and drop $5,000 or $10,000 on a guitar and get something that was really gonna play. Not that there aren't instruments out there that do a fantastic job, but to get something that I knew was gonna play phenomenally, I followed Greg's lead. I saw what he was building and really wanted to produce something at least close to that level.
Do you think we can get a little taste of it?
Yeah, sure. You heard it a little in the beginning of the podcast, and this guitar is built with Kasha bracing. Usually, Martin uses X bracing, Taylor uses V bracing, and most people who aren't involved with luthiers or guitar building in general don't understand how much the top end bracing does to the sound. Kasha bracing gives a very well balanced tone across the board, so you're not as heavy on the bass or as high on the highs. It's an even blend across the board. So this guitar is great for finger picking. And I'll do a little bit of that.
You can tell it sounds really full and that you do have that balance. I noticed when I was playing a little bit on it earlier too, the distance between the strings does have like a comfy bed to it, so there is space for that finger picking. So I definitely see what you're talking about there. But no, I love the sound of it. I think it's beautiful. Now, so since we have a talented guitarist, vocalist, and luthier, drummer of a long time, and myself, I've been playing guitar since I was about 12. We all have our experiences, like our unique experiences within music, and kind of how it's developed over time, because it's something that each one of us likes to keep for our lives, for ourselves. I don't think any of us are really professional musicians, but that doesn't mean you can't still get a lifetime of enjoyment from it. So for myself, my music journey started when I was about in middle school. I played piano first, but I always wanted to actually be a drummer, but my parents weren't a big fan of the idea of having a drum kit in the house, so I had to settle for guitar after I learned piano. And when I started playing guitar, I had a teacher, but it didn't quite stick. I was kind of losing interest a little bit. And then a friend of mine came along one day and just threw an electric in my hands. And within a day, taught me how to play Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions and some what's called tapping on a guitar. And it pretty much launched it from there. My first job ever, I worked at a music store called Music Workshop, which was located down South Broadway in Salem, New Hampshire. And that place has been in business for over 40 years. It was an awesome place to work. And I worked there with two of my best friends, one of which was the one that put the guitar in my hands. It's also the place I bought my first electric guitar. And it was one of the best experiences I ever had working there. I worked there for 6.5 years. It was a blast. And because I was always surrounded by musical instruments, I learned how to play a lot of different kinds. I had to demonstrate bass and play a few notes on the mandolin, ukulele, even some like brass and woodwind instruments. And so I just really kind of developed an understanding of instruments all around, and was always able to play with someone for a while. Then, once I kind of left that job, time went on. I had a hiatus. I went through college, and then I didn't really have as much time to play. And, as we all kind of find as we get older and lives get busier, it's harder to make that time for it. But it's something that if you really enjoy and you get a lot of time, a lot of peace from, then it's worth trying to put the 20 minutes in a day, at least every couple days. And that's what I find myself doing lately is I play mostly electric guitar. I have a baritone made by Dan Electro, and I have a lot of fun with it because it's got a nice, thick, warm, and bold tone without being grindy or kind of too low to the point where it mumbles. It has a very clear, distinct sound. I really enjoy playing that. I also built a guitar, not quite to the level that Josh did. I bought an electric guitar, stripped it apart, and then put it all back together with new parts, new paint, new electronics, and that was a really fun time. I learned a lot. But now I mostly just play for myself. I still write some music. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I like just putting things together and occasionally learning like an instrumental cover. But yeah, like I said, there's really not a day goes by where I'm not at least listening to music. My Spotify is my most treasured app. And there's music playing in the gym, there's music playing in my car, there's music playing at home, and I just love being surrounded by it. And will probably always be that way. What about you, Josh? What's your experience in music?
Music's been not just in my life, but in my family for a long time. My mom always sang before I was born, and all through my childhood, all through my adult years. Her and her now husband have done karaoke, and I don't mean they went to karaoke, I mean they had the setup for karaoke. Like they had all the speakers and the DJ equipment, and they did that every weekend. for years every Friday night, and they'd be gone till 2 in the morning, and that was easy to plan things out with. But, you know, in all seriousness, music honestly has been some of the most important aspects of my life. Even, you know, in the military, you know, we call cadence, and that, you know, keeps people motivated and continues to push you along, gives you something to distract yourself and escape from what you're dealing with at the time. In other situations, you know, listening to music because you're feeling a certain way already, not just to escape, but to feel like you're not alone in that. But everything from my mom doing karaoke to me being in show choir to actually being in a band with Connor a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah. Twice, actually.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh was a vocalist and played some guitar, and then I played guitar as well. We were in a couple bands together. It was a really fun time. That's how we met.
Yeah. Actually, your first job at the music workshop is where we first met.
Yep.
I knew his sister. I was in a church musical. I
remember
met her
that.
prior to that. And, you know, from, you know, church shows to show choir to theater in high school. And yeah, I'm a nerd. All right. But, you know, it's been a huge part of my life. Even Greg, who, you know, I work with at Siren Acoustic Guitars, he wasn't just my fourth grade art teacher. He also brought in a guitar and played a song called Bat Fly in Me Face, which, if I could remember it, like, I can still hear it in my head, but I've never tried to learn it or how to figure out how to play it.
Was it something he wrote?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, something he wrote. Greg actually performs all over the place. He plays at KC's up at, I think it's either Hampton or Salisbury.
Oh, wow.
He performs all the time. He's essentially retired now, which his wife continues to remind me because I'm like, hey, you want to work tomorrow too? And she's like, you know he's retired, right? It's like, yeah, I know. But yeah, music's been a huge part of my life. It helps me out when I'm feeling down. It, you know, awesome to listen to in long car rides. I love going on road trips. It's just, music is how we express ourselves and understand each other on a level that you can't always do with just words.
It's true. What do you think, Dom?
Yeah, no. Josh and Connor kind of put it best in the sense that everyone's going to have their own interpretation to music as to how they perceive it, they believe it's good or bad. A quote that I once heard that one of Carr's clients told me is that there's never such thing as bad music, there's no such thing as old music. Realistically speaking, that with bad music, everyone that, or people that may think it's bad, you might find one person out of a million people that thinks that bad song is good. So if that one person thinks that the music's good, then clearly there was something appealing to it to that person. So we can't all be bad because then a million people would have thought it was, except for that one person. So I thought that was really interesting. In addition to that too, music never gets old. So reason being, so I listen to a lot of like 60s, 70s, and 80s rock, a little bit of 90s alternative. So I'm kind of all over the place with my music taste. I like EDM. I like things that just have like heavy drum beats to them. Things that can just allow me to just like express my creativity. I'm super loud as is anyways. So it's kind of cool to be able to kind of like align yourself with not only something that'll help you express yourself, but something that'll also help to express you in the sense that like a lot of people can listen to your music type that you may like and then kind of maybe formulate as to how you may be in terms of like a personality. So like if someone were to like take a look at like my Spotify, for an example, again, I'm all over the place, but most of the stuff that I have is going to be drum heavy, loud, rock and roll, like all like the old stuff. My girlfriend makes fun of me because she always tells me that I listen to really old music, and she's like, why do you listen to this old people stuff? I'm like, for me it's good. I'm like, not to mention you, like you're a my guy, I can play what I want. So I have to listen to her and the Jonas Brothers and all that crap. So if I have to deal with that, then she has to deal with mine. So it's a 50-50 trade-off. But anywho, yeah, no, everyone has like their own interpretations to how music has benefited them in their life. I'm not going to say it's never been like a negative. However, I would say that it brings more upbringings and positivities than it does negative connotations. A lot of times, so kind of like what Josh was saying when growing up around music, same thing with me. I have people in my family that own DJ businesses. I have a brother and sister that both knew how to play piano. My sister was a semi-professional singer. I played drums, and I used to also play violin as well. So yeah, a lot of people tend to get surprised at that one. I used to actually like playing the violin. It was cool. So it was better than just kind of like sitting in class and doing math problems. So I would get to go to music class, and that'd just be like, it was something that was challenging, and that's why I liked it. And then when I got into drumming, basically the way that it happened is that when I was a kid, growing up in Italian culture, you get the stereotypes of like, you always used to have to like go with like nice hair and stuff like that. So I remember like when I was a kid, my mom would like be like trying to like do my hair in the morning. Like I would start playing drums on like the kitchen sink on the counter, or like anything like in the room that I was around, I would just start banging on it. And so to the point that she kind of got pissed off. She was like, all right, like we'll sign you up for drum lessons. Like I like stop banging on shit around the house. So it was awesome though. It was really cool. Like I was definitely intimidated by the first lesson. My first song that I ever learned though, When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin. So that was pretty baller. And then I just discovered like a whirlwind of different types of like drummers and musicians. And I learned about drum fest in Canada. I actually collect bongos from all over the world. So I have bongos from Hawaii, Africa, South America, Indonesia, Thailand. So I've had people actually going to the extent of like, if they go to foreign countries, they'll get bongo drums and bring them back to me. So it's really cool. And not to mention too, with drums specifically, it's awesome because realistically, the only other thing that you need is your hands. You don't even need a pair of sticks if you play bongos. So in terms of kind of how I got into the drumming scene, that's kind of how I started. So I started at a music studio down in Massachusetts. Shout out to GS Music. They're absolutely awesome. Funny enough, the owner's name is also Greg. He was the man. He was a guitarist and a bassist, more so than not. So he had like a small recording studio. I used to do ensemble classes there. I used to do kind of like pick up drums and like certain school like auditions and bands and stuff like that. So it was a really cool thing that I got myself involved in. And once I moved up to New Hampshire, I brought my kit with me, things like that. And it's funny because between my therapist and Connor, they always tell me that I need to get a life outside of my job. So that's a bigger reason as to kind of why I started diving back into my music career, because I needed to find something. As much as I love my job and working out and stuff like that, I need to separate myself from that and do stuff that's not related to my job. So by kind of picking up the drum scene, I got back into it during COVID more so than anything. And my 6th grade English teacher, he actually used to be, well, he still is a musician, started off as a music teacher or an English teacher, basically told our class like, hey, this is my last year teaching. I'm going to go to LA, get a record deal. We're all just kind of like looking at him like, okay, that's exactly what he did. It was pretty baller. So shout out to Mr. Kelleher. He's killing it. So he's been the absolute man in terms of, he's now actually my drum teacher. So even though he's all the way out in LA, every week I'll usually like do like a Zoom call. It's amazing what the internet can do. And yeah, even with a 3-hour time difference, for about 30 minutes to an hour a week, we just kind of like sit down and talk shop about drums, play different licks, fills, different types of music. So it's awesome. I love it just because every single time I'm always met with like a new challenge. My newest challenge that I'm probably doing right now is that I finally built and am starting to learn a double bass pedal. It's hard, but it's really fun once you kind of get the coordination down in terms of like what you can do between your hands and your feet, and just having to have like the coordination to be ambidextrous. It's pretty intense. But
Some good cardio too.
It is. It can get your heart up. It's funny because I have a lot of people like sometimes like I even started recording myself. I made Instagram with intentions of people not being able to find it and kind of just using it to like a storage for like drum
It's the wrong
ideas.
place for that kind of thing.
Yeah, no. So I didn't really think about it until after everyone's like, "Oh, what about like when you make a profile, like it goes into like people you may know." I'm like, damn, I'm like, I didn't even think about that. So
Dom Diesel drumming.
So yeah, so Dommy Diesel drumming. So the nickname came from my friends just always used to take my name for whatever reason, just try to think of like these ridiculous things. So Dommy Diesel was one of the ones that stuck, just because I was bigger than everyone else. So yeah, so that one, that's kind of how that name came about. But anywho, yeah, no, I just like to go on. I just like to play different things. I kind of just like play what I feel in the moment. A lot of it is kind of unscripted, which is pretty cool, just because even if you mess up, the biggest thing that I always try to tell myself is just you can always catch back up to yourself. And if you treat it like a live performance, or even like even with athletes, when you're in the middle of doing something live and you screw up, first of all, you either gotta screw up going 1,000 miles an hour, and if you screw up, just keep going, don't stop.
Yep.
So those are kind of the two things that I try to focus on, like even when I do mess up. However, I do wear my expressions on my face. So like if I like know I screwed something up, I'm like, damn. And like I'll like sometimes have people say like, you look like you're in pain like when you're playing. I'm like, no, I'm either like trying to think about what I'm doing, or like I get so into it that like I start
the drummer's
to get tense.
face.
Yeah, so I start to like literally like make faces and stuff. So a lot of it more so is just either trying to thinking about like what I'm gonna do next, how I'm gonna end. Damn, I just screwed up. How am I gonna get back on track? So you're always thinking of stuff. So yeah, my face probably is the old like the know all tell all by looking at it. But yeah, so I know I kind of just went on like a massive rant, but in terms of my experience with music, to kind of wrap it all up, drums are awesome. I love it. It's a passion of mine. It always will be, and I kind of hope it is, because realistically, if I wasn't able to lift weights, that would probably be the next thing that I would fall back onto doing. So in regards for kind of what I do for myself in terms of like diving into music and stuff, between being in the gym on my off time, I just always try to be around it, and it's always just going to influence as to how I feel depending on what's playing and things like that. So yeah, it's a cool experience for sure.
Now, one way you don't have to be a musician to appreciate music by any stretch. And it's one of the most common things to find music in the gym. And so if we kind of look at the personality and atmosphere of the gym, whether you're working out in a group or if you're kind of doing your own thing with headphones on, you know, there's a lot of different genres that you can listen to. I mean, you can be pumping iron to the Doobie Brothers or to like Eminem. And usually higher energy or a faster pace tempo is going to give you a little bit more energy, but that's not the case for everyone. I know most people tend to prefer having their own music and headphones working out, as opposed to listening to whatever the gym has to offer. But usually I would suggest, if you're doing cardio, I like hip hop because it's a very consistent beat and you can actually work your cadence to it very easily. When I lift, I personally tend to listen to much more aggressive music because I find that it just gives me a little bit of like that adrenaline edge. And when I'm stretching, you know, I don't do yoga, but I'll stretch like the classic yogi, and I'll have some nice calming meditative music going. I like to shut the lights off and just kind of roll around. So music can be used anywhere. And I remember actually going to a metal festival last year called RPM Fest, which was out in Western Mass. An absolute awesome time. They had metal yoga. You know, just imagine, you know, we're thinking some heavier stuff than Metallica, but
Stretch for the sky.
pretty much. And so it was fun. I mean, one thing about metal that I think is very interesting is it actually has a very strong therapeutic effect because of the drone. The low end scratch just quite literally is music to my ears. And I feel like when I'm working out, it just kind of feels like it helps me get into that zone. But I'm still going to be listening to what's generally categorized as screamo at 6 a.m. going to work. It's just helps me get into the mood, and metal can be as relaxing as it can be energetic. Shout out as well to Epicenter Metal. If you haven't heard of them, I strongly suggest checking them out if you like any sort of faster paced thrash metal sort of things. They are putting out a new EP soon, and it is going to be a spectacle to observe. So I strongly suggest checking them out. But beyond that, any other thoughts on gym music?
Yeah, I know. In regards to me, a lot of times because I have an older taste in music, people will come in and I'll usually have like some type of like older rock on or something like that playing. Just because a lot of times too, especially with the clientele that you have coming in, from a business perspective, you want to be able to play music that is not going to have that much vulgar language, and it's something that everyone can kind of like I don't want to say necessarily relate to, but it's something that everyone can listen to.
It's
that,
friendly.
Like, yeah, exactly. You know it's going to be appropriate. So like, I think between kind of like playing like rock music and stuff like that, obviously the swearing and the vulgarity is going to be a lot less compared to like modern day rap and hip hop. Obviously, depending on the crowds that are in here, we're willing to change it up and kind of play stuff that's a little bit more aggressive. If there's not people in here that like kids or people like elderly people, whatever the case may be. We always want people to feel warm and welcome when they come in here and not have to worry about like every other word being something kind of like
It's inappropriate.
yeah, or scenic. So yeah, no. So in terms of like from a business side, the music's always changing. We try to keep it pretty friendly overall. You may catch us a couple times that like if either myself or Connor are working out when people come in, our music might be playing, so you kind of get a little bit of a sense to like what we like to dive into as well. But again, in terms of like the music that's playing in the gym, like I mentioned earlier, like when I'm working out, depending as to like what the theme is for the day, if I'm training for strength, power, hypertrophy, cardio, it's all going to change. One thing about me is that I love to dance. I love to like vibe and like jazz out and like all this other stuff. So like for me, like when I'm on the treadmill, like I gotta play something like I honestly play like the Refugees, or, like the Bee Gees, like Wyclef Jean, whatever. Just something like groovy and just kind of like up tempo, just so that way I can kind of like almost like when you dance, your heart rate's gonna go up because obviously you're moving your whole body. Like obviously when you're doing cardio, it's the same exact thing. So like not to mention too, like walking in place sucks. I hate it. It drives me nuts. I don't like it. So like granted, like I could go outside and go like walk around the neighborhood, but like if I started just like dancing on the sidewalk, like I want to be the next hottest trend on TikTok. So typically what I'll do is I'll just put my headphones in, I'll hop on the treadmill, and I just like, even though we have a storefront, I'll literally dance like no one's watching. And honestly too, it's kind of cool because when it's 5 o'clock in the morning, I usually have, so we have changing colored LED lights that play in the gym. They actually go to the beat of the music. When you see some guy dancing on the treadmill on an incline at 5 a.m. with like LED lights like blasting,
It's a good place.
It's a great way to advertise. So people are gonna look at it like, what the hell is this guy doing? This guy looks like he's absolutely out of his mind, which chances are I probably am. So, but you know what? It's all good because one, I'm having fun. Two, my workout's probably going absolutely fantastic if I am doing those things, so don't ruin it. Three, again, it's all about just like having fun with it. And on top of that too, the music is just going to help you enhance that experience.
Now, Josh, what are your thoughts on gym music?
So as far as gym music goes, for the longest time, anytime I'd go to the gym, with my limited level of knowledge when it comes to working out in the gym, I've always been lifting because that's what I was taught. Free weights, bench, cables, but I always went with 3 days grace.
Okay.
Whenever I was lifting, and it always started off with Riot because it was just you want to
Gets
get
that
pumped
energy
up.
in. Yeah,
You want to
absolutely.
feel like you're in the middle of a fight scene in a movie where you just take it on the world and you feel like a beast and you're ready to go.
It's awesome.
I like that.
But lately I haven't been listening to music at the gym, not because I don't want to, but because I found when I go by myself to the gym, I'm not as motivated, even if I'm listening to music. It's hard for me to self-motivate alone. But now my brother, Marky, actually goes to the gym with me. This time that when I signed up, we both ended up going together. He agreed to come with me. And I don't want to listen to music because we're
You have a social aspect there now.
without using profanity, we're messing around with each other vocally while we're working out. So
That's fun. I mean, it's still good to have like someone to work out with. It's really nice having
absolutely.
like a workout buddy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like even like to kind of like relate to that. So like I used to have a training partner for the longest time, like when I used to live in Massachusetts. And when we were together, it was the same thing. Like we were both like in it to win it 100%, dialed in, ready to go.
You can
like,
lift
getting
heavier.
after
Get
it.
up.
Yeah. So yeah, no. So it was awesome. So like we never really wore headphones just because like we just wanted to be like on the go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you gotta make your time efficient. Like if you're like people nowadays, like don't get me wrong, like I totally understand. Like you're on your phone, you're shuffling through your iPod, like whatever the case is. So personally,
I don't even bring
not to
mine.
even kind of go off of that. So like so it's funny because like I still have an iPod. I have an iPod Nano. I love it.
You have a piece of history right there.
No, so it's great. So for those of you that don't know what iPods are, it's the thing that came out before the iPhones. So
I still have the Zeno MP3
yeah, I
player.
know they're awesome. I used to have like a little Zen like MP3.
Yeah, Zen,
like,
that's what it was.
Yeah, those things
Zen.
are awesome. So it's cool too because realistically, it's like I can't get text messages like on my
can't bother
iPod.
me.
People can't call me on my iPod.
Yeah, that's a good
so-
point. So you don't have as many distractions.
Exactly. So like you don't have Instagram, you don't have Facebook, you don't have Snapchat, you don't have TikTok. You have nothing on the iPod except for the music. So the time
And
that
little
you're going
mini
to
games.
spend the time that you're going to spend just shuffling through is going to be a fraction compared to when you're on your phone and you have like I have a text message right now.
The wife
like,
just texted
yeah,
me
exactly.
again.
So it's like it's gonna take your workout so much longer, and I don't think people see that.
It's
so
true.
It drives me insane because if you're especially like using like equipment or machines and stuff is limited, like get off your phone, like change your song, whatever, but then put the phone down and go back to what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's if you can't tell, it's a little bit of a pet peeve.
No, I'm with you on that. I can't. It does drive me nuts when I want to use a specific machine.
Yeah.
And somebody's just sitting there hunched over like this on their phone. Just
Yep.
not like you haven't exercised on that machine for the last 10 minutes. You're just sitting there.
Exactly.
Like go sit on a bench in the corner or something. Like you're in my way.
Like sometimes, don't get me wrong.
I don't
like,
even bring
to
my
sit-
phone.
Yeah, so
Throw it in the
like
locker.
sometimes what I'll do personally, which I even hate doing this, is like I'll send a text message, just one, between my sets. And the reason that I do it is because you figure the time to like send a text message is like
Yeah, you
what,
do.
maybe like 20 to 30 seconds. So depending as to like what you're typing. So I'll use that to like almost like time my breaks if I'm doing certain workouts. But even with that, I don't like doing it because again, it's still just gonna add on to how much
Yeah.
time.
It's easy to fall
my
down that
work-
rabbit hole.
Yeah, it sucks.
That's
It's-
another reason why I like having a gym partner because I'm timing my rest based on okay, it's his turn to do his
Exactly,
set.
yeah, that
He's
too.
done. Now it's back to my turn, and it's
So, and like even like with the gym, like even if the music's not that good, we can talk about, or again, there's no such thing as bad music, but like if the music is not to your taste, it can definitely affect the mood to your workout. Like if you don't have your own headphones or if they die or whatever. So like you may kind of like, it may throw off your vibe a little bit, but it shouldn't be enough that it's going to like totally displace you and your workout should be negative.
I'm not going to leave the gym because my headphones died.
Exactly.
get out.
Yeah. So no, it definitely makes sense in the sense that like music can definitely have a lot of again influence on not just your workouts but like your mental health and motivation and sometimes even with mental health and motivation. Let's talk about that. So I know that Josh was even talking about the fact that sometimes he goes to the gym and doesn't get motivated. We always talk about don't be motivated, be consistent. So again,
still go.
Yeah, which is awesome. So
And that's where, if you don't have motivation, you need discipline. And you need the two to stay consistent.
exactly. So as long as you're consistent, motivation doesn't matter because your emotions are always going to change. Your motivation can definitely vary depending as to the type of music. Like what Josh was saying when he likes to listen to Riot by 3 Days Grace. Like that's an awesome song. Personally, like one of my hype songs is I Love Warrior by Disturbed.
Yep.
Like
Halo by Machine Head.
Yes, no. everyone has like that hype song to just like get them into that mindset of like being motivated, be like, okay, like I'm gonna do this. Like when I used to play sports, man, like to get yourself hyped up for like a game or kickoff or whatever, like I don't like to run, but after listening to like a hype song, you're ready to go, you
Yeah.
wind up waiting for the ball.
Ready to make that
For the
sack.
first like maybe like 2 minutes, I'm running around like I weigh like $150. Like I'm doing sprints up and down the field, and then once all the motivation wears off, it's like I hit a brick wall, and it's just like. So it can be tough, but that music can take you that much more of a long way.
Music is an energy, and
is.
it gives you that hype for workout or whatever it is you want to do, but it'll also, and like Josh had mentioned earlier, really connect to emotions. If you're having a bad day, you can listen to music.
No, I'm just kidding.
You can listen to sad music and feel related, like you're not alone. You can listen to happy music to cheer yourself up. You can just listen to instrumental stuff that you can kind of interpret on your own. And music is a beautiful thing. And I forget who the historical composer was that said it, but music is always around you no matter what. Even if we stand in this room 100% silent, there's still going to be the hum of the lights. There's still going to be the people outside. There's still going to be, crack or sounds from the pipes. And that could be thought of as music as well.
I would say sound, any type of like sound.
In vibration, anything like that.
Can be music. And even like, this is more of a drummer thing, but like one thing that we always do is like play with the metronome. For people that don't know what a metronome is, it's basically, it's just a beat.
It's all about the metronome.
Exactly. In regards for like whether you do like quarter notes, eighth notes, 16ths, whatever, playing like odd times, like if you're playing 7/4, 9/3, whatever the case is, it's going to be a tone set in place for you to kind of follow along and create a beat off of. So even though it's just like a click, like Josh was just doing, that is something that you can then build off of.
Exactly.
Like, even when we were doing our recordings, every time that we did one, we took like maybe like, I don't know, like probably a little over like 10 takes. Every time, like either Connor would lead, Josh would follow, then I would follow, or I would lead and someone else would follow. So there's always a way to kind of start the beat, even if it's just as small as just a tap, and then let it lead.
It's a language that we all like to communicate with.
Yeah.
So,
and it doesn't even have to be words. It's just a matter of just like what you feel is right. It's the language of emotion.
Damn.
That was deep. And on that note, so with, again, to kind of summarize everything that we went through today, before our final performance. So, first off, if you haven't listened to previous podcasts, we would definitely recommend doing so, not just because of we wanted to get more exposure for us and the viewers and listeners and things like that. A lot of the things that we tend to talk about stem from prior podcasts, whether it be mental health or workout motivation, consistency. So if you kind of are wondering like what we're talking about sometimes during these, if you go back and listen to those, it's all going to make a lot more sense. I know some podcasts are not supposed to build off each other. Sometimes they're more just kind of like implemented with random topics, but with ours specifically, it's just going to help the timeline of events.
So we do have all the podcasts fully loaded with their videos on our YouTube page, Sheer Dominance, just on YouTube. If you're finding us through Facebook, we have a few full episodes there as well, posted in the Reels. And if you're finding us on Instagram, we have clips of them, but we do, if you check out the bio, have a link that leads to all the other resources, including the YouTube, where you can watch them all for free there.
Yep.
But otherwise, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you, Josh, for coming along and showing us your beautiful instruments. And so you heard our jam in the beginning, so stick around, check out this last one that we have for you. We got a couple of leads, and stick around for the next podcast. Okay.
Filling up the parts of me you're leaving left empty. Kind of pain going down anyway. I drank the whiskey, held the girls that wanted me. Why am I lonely? Ain't time supposed to heal these things? What if it ain't? Just tell me